Remember when Roddy Ricch had the whole culture in a chokehold with his ad-lib on the box? Yeah, I'm not the only one. I know y'all know what I'm talking about. Kind of reminds me of how NBA YoungBoy currently has the culture in a chokehold, similar one at least, on his shot calling song from his Make America Slime Again album, where he goes, "She gon' call me baby boo. She gon' call me baby boo." Yo, I don't know how to do it, so that's where y'all come in. Y'all gotta help me out. But these days, Roddy can't seem to pick a release date to save his life. And by the way, that release date is so important, it could save his career. And I'm not being dramatic, guys. That's why in this video, I'm gonna break down the rise, the fall of Roddy Ricch, and if the upcoming Navy album can actually do what Roddy intends it to do, because it kind of might just be too late. By the way, guys, my name is Uche, and I make videos like this every single week, or at least I'm planning to. So if you like what you see, hit that like button. It'll push us out to more people. If you want to see me grow, hit that subscribe button. Now let's get into this. Okay. Let's talk about Roderick Moore Jr., better known as Roddy Ricch, straight out of Compton, aka Bird, aka Lil Bird, aka I need help cause I'm blind. God gave me direction. All right, that's not really an AKA. I just like that part of the song on Lonely Road. But nonetheless, when it comes to Roddy Ricch, it's hard to ignore the immense talent that he possesses. I'm talking about immaculate flows, his extreme breath control, his melodic mastery, even down to his motivational persona and perspective that he puts into his music. And so from day one, Roddy has always shown a lot of potential. It's funny, he's from Compton, aka the West Coast, and for some reason his music sounds very Southern, right? Like his approach to music almost feels like he's more inspired by people like Future and Young Thug versus a YG or even a Kendrick Lamar, or even maybe some of the people that are a little older who are a little bit more rappity rap. Let's talk about The Game, right? And so with all of that being said, I think Roddy is in a tough spot. He's currently fighting, he fell off rumors. He's currently fighting endless amount of pushbacks when it comes to this new project of his called the Navy album. And so the question now becomes, are the delays a result of him sitting back, re-strategizing with his team and crafting a masterpiece? Or is he second guessing his own music? Because I think this is a very pivotal position. You can go back to even artists who more recently have changed the narrative. And I'm talking about none other than Chance the Rapper, where Chance had his sophomore project called, actually really the debut album called The Big Day. He was shunned out of hip hop and only to come back years later with his more recent project called Starline, which I believe unanimously fans and critics are saying Chance is back. So the question remains, will Roddy light the candle for his own career with his upcoming album? Hey, that remains to be seen. But let's take a look back at Roddy's career, because he's put out some music that people have really loved over the years, including myself. Roddy's discography is extremely strong early in his career, and I think no other example is, I think, better to kind of explain all of that than to talk about his Feed the Streets 2 mixtape. Now, Feed the Streets 2 came out November 2nd, 2018. Commercially, it debuted at 67 on the Billboard 200 charts. It had popular songs like Every Season, which, by the way, was extremely viral at the time. I remember there was a point where I got exposed to this song because he did a street performance with Einer Banks, who's an acoustic guitarist who was super viral back then. I don't really see him too much these days, but that song blew up a lot, mainly because of that collab, but also just it's a dope song.
Tired of buzzing and running up, I gotta put the new bells inside of the freezer. Back at the trap, I was ducking the people, ducking the birds, sending out the meagles.
He also had a song called Die Young. And of course, I think anytime you mix the concept of dying young with the youth, for some reason that idea is going to hit. But all in all, that's a really dope song from Roddy. Great hook, great melody, as always. It's funny because speaking of other artists, younger stages making songs about dying young, Post Malone also had a song called Too Young from his debut album called Stoney back in 2016. I'm curious, which song about dying young is your favorite, guys? Y'all let me know in the comments. He also had a song called Down Below, which I I thought was a sleeper from that project. Of course, there's others like Cream and also Area Codes, which I think are sleepers as well. By the way, side note, I'm going through Homeboy's discography for Feed the Streets 2, and I'm like, whatever happened to Feed the Streets 1? Like, nobody ever talks about that project. I went digging, I couldn't find it on streaming. Does anybody know what happened to Feed the Streets? Let me know in the comments, because that is actually a mystery. Now, after Feed the Streets 2, he went on a crazy feature run. He dropped Racks in the Middle with Nipsey Hussle back in 2019, which won a Grammy for the best rap performance. And so Roddy was operating on a really big high around the time. Of course, Nipsey was really making a name for himself. This was right around the time where Victory Lap happened. It was a perfect storm, man. And then of course, Roddy had a song called Ballin', produced by Mustard. That also peaked at number 11 on the Billboard Hot 100 charts. Huge record, up-tempo, really got a lot of people moving, showed the versatility of Roddy Ricch that a lot of his contemporaries actually couldn't even get on a beat like this. Seriously. And then, of course, I would say no bigger feature for Roddy, none other than Rockstar, which dropped in 2020. That was his feature he did with DaBaby. That one actually was number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 charts, and it spent 7 weeks at the number 1 spot. So this is a huge record for not only Roddy Ricch, but also DaBaby. And so shout out to Roddy, man. I think Roddy had the Midas touch around that time, and it was showing in every possible way. But of course, we gotta talk about Roddy's commercial debut album called Please Excuse Me for Being Antisocial, which dropped December 6, 2019. It debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200 chart, selling 101K first week equivalent units. And guys, this is literally a zero skip album. I know people say that pretty casually. I see it online a lot. People, oh, this is no skips. Oh yeah, no skip. Nah, I'm standing on it. This is a zero skip album. If you feel me, then y'all know good music, damn it, all right? But this album had popular songs like, of course, The Box. The Box was a huge record. It spent 11 weeks at number 1 on the Hot 100 charts. And of course, man, I think this song really took off during the pandemic, man. It showed a big record side of Roddy that I think really propelled him to the top. And it saw viral memes going back and forth. I know y'all remember the noise, the ee-er sound effect that really took this song over the top on Instagram, on TikTok, everywhere you were seeing people making videos to this song. And I think it blew it up even more. So still to this day, I mean, that's easily Roddy Ricch's most, I think, notable song and also biggest song. But on that project, he also had the song High Fashion, which again, he saw him featuring Mustard, or at least rapping over a produced beat by Mustard, which was very similar to Ballin'. You saw Roddy getting into his versatile bag where he's able to make a song that the ladies can feel. It set Roddy apart at that time. And he also had a song called Start With Me featuring Gunna, and of course War Baby, and a slew of other songs like Perfect Timing, which I believe is probably one of my biggest sleepers on that project. But nonetheless, curious to know, what are your favorite songs from Please Excuse Me from Being Antisocial? Y'all leave it in the comments. After that though, gotta talk about the decline of Roddy, because his next project called Live Life Fast released December 17, 2021. Commercially, it debuted at number 4 on the Billboard 200 charts, and it sold approximately 62K first week album equivalent units. And so this is probably the biggest black eye moment, I think, in Roddy's career, man, because for the first time up until this point, he was almost being doubted. Like, does he still have it? You know, of course, Late at Night drop. You clearly see Roddy has a signature sound when he's trying to make a commercial song. You know, Late at Night is very reminiscent of High Fashion. High Fashion is very reminiscent of Ballin'. It showed him working with his homeboy Mustard again, and they tried to re-spark what they have going on. And I think while Late at Night worked, it wasn't as big of a record as the other two that I just mentioned. And of course, on this album, you had songs like 25 Million and Move to Miami featuring Lil Baby. And so you got to think about it, man. Like, I think Roddy was feeling a lot of pressure around this time. And personally, I feel like the culture was a little too hard on Roddy. The music on this album was still pretty good. He had a song called Thailand, which I think really went off earlier in that project. And it just showed Roddy doing what he always did, but it just, Roddy was kind of chasing the shadow that he created for himself on The Box. Like, when you create a big song like that, people are expecting that every time around, unfortunately. And so I think Roddy fell victim to that. And lastly, let's talk about his Feed the Streets 3 mixtape, which he dropped November 18, 2022, which debuted at number 8 on the Billboard 200 charts and sold approximately 38K first week album equivalent units. It had popular songs like Stop Breathing, Aston Martin Truck, and Twin featuring Lil Durk. And so at this point, I think people are kind of over Roddy Ricch, man. Roddy was facing an uphill battle that I don't even think think he was prepared to face. Now, I think most artists are confident in their art. Most artists are confident in how the fans are probably going to receive their art. But I think Roddy was at a turning point in his career after the release of Feed the Streets 3. And it really showed him announcing the album, which would have been his next album, called the Navy album. A little pet peeve of mine. I'm not a fan of when the word album is in the name of the album, but I digress. That's nitpicking. If the album's fire, I won't even care. I'm gonna be honest with you. But if it sucks, I'm gonna be like, dawg, why'd you put album in the name? That's weird. But anyway, in May of 2024, Roddy announced that the Navy album was gonna drop. And he also released in that same exact month, Survivor's Remorse, which showed Roddy going through that emotional roller coaster of feeling like he was the only one in his crew that made it, hence the Survivor's Remorse name of the song. It also saw him, I think, reflecting on his career, man, because before that song, Roddy was in interviews talking about not feeling the pressure that fans are putting on him, almost trying to put up a front.
I feel like pressure is like self-implied or self-induced. You know, I feel like I always been numb with it a little bit, like just with everything going on. So, you know, during this time, I've been able to sit down and understand what's really going on. But if it ain't fun no more, one of my, you know what I'm saying, it's just like, if it ain't fun, like, don't do it. So I try to keep it to where it just stay fun with me, you know, and I don't take it too serious.
And I think artists can only do that for so long, especially true artists who really care about their craft. And so in Survivor's Remorse, he had lyrics like, imagine if I had $1 every time they said I fell off, I'd be a billionaire. So he's acknowledging how much people are saying that he fell off, right? But I think to me, in that song, towards the later part, that showed Roddy being even more introspective and vulnerable than I've probably ever seen him before, because he was almost giving himself a pep talk in a sense, where he said, Roddy, you wealthy. Roddy, you golden. Roddy, you built for this. Roddy be tired of everybody's and get behind the closed doors, you can feel this shit. So he's almost talking to himself, acknowledging the pressure that is building on him, maybe even beyond the fans. Maybe even he's feeling label pressure. Who knows? But after Survivor's Remorse, he literally goes on to tell us that the album is coming December 6th, 2024, which that date came and it didn't happen. And then it was announced that they're pushing the album back to February 21st, right? That didn't happen. And then they said April 25th. Well, then we all waited. That didn't happen as well. We also waited to the next pushback. They said July 18th, 2025. The album was dropping. We came to that date, and guess what happened, guys? You guessed it. The album didn't drop. And we arrive at the latest example of the announcement of this album, and it's allegedly slated to drop December 5th, 2025. Now, I'll be real, I don't know if fans care anymore. It pains me to even suggest that, because you guys can go on my channel. I made a video about A$AP Rocky and his terrible album Rollout for Don't Be Dumb. And A$AP Rocky just recently said, yo, you know what? I'm gonna stop answering questions about my album being pushed back because it's biting me in the ass, essentially.
All right, Ant, when's the album coming out? Man, listen, the world wants to know.
I'm gonna just drop it. How about that? I'm gonna just drop it. I don't wanna say another date. Disappoint people, things happen, things pop up. I just want to make the perfect album, just drop it.
And I fear that Roddy Ricch is in a very similar boat. It was one thing to drop Survivor's Remorse, build some momentum. I thought the tide was changing, the narrative was changing, and he just continues to disappoint fans. I'm even at the point where I'm like, bro, this has to be a joke. People are no longer taking the Navy album seriously at all because of all of the pushback dates. And so it almost waters down all the singles that came that he ended up dropping off to fans that I actually thought were really good. If you go back to June of 2024, he dropped a song called 9/11, which was actually at the tail end of the Survivor's Remorse video. At least he teased it. I thought that was a good song. I'll even take you to Lonely Road featuring Terrence Hart, which dropped in December of 2024. I thought that was a very good song as well. One of the better songs Roddy has probably ever released in his career, honestly. And I'm a huge Roddy fan. And I'm saying that like I think his artistic quality has increased. But it's unfortunate that he is not capitalized on the music that he's been dropping to fans. And so we're gonna see if these multiple delays are gonna bite Roddy in the ass or not. I have a sneaky suspicion it will, because when you delay your album this much, it never ends well. Never. Now let's talk a little bit about Roddy's response and future expectations. Just one quick second. Let's pause and take a little examination of the fell off rumors on Roddy Ricch. And just all in all, when people say artists fell off, personally, I think fans are super quick to say someone fell off. I think fans are fickle these days. Attention spans are very short. Fans are likely more prone to trolling an artist that they know will be affected by these sorts of rumors.
It ain't a run thing. It's just like, let me just fall back a little bit, take my time to think, really understand a lot of these situations. I ain't make no public statement about nothing that I was going through.
But then also, this industry is damn near ran like a "what have you done for me lately" type business. And so I think if artists are not delivering their best music each time around, they're gonna be more susceptible to the fall off rumors. And I think Roddy is no different. When your album doesn't perform like it did with your debut album, I think fans are naturally gonna see the decline in numbers and see that you didn't have a Billboard #1 hit on the charts for so many weeks, and they're gonna be like, he don't got it no more. And I don't necessarily agree with that per se, but I do think Roddy has had a really noticeable shift in tone of his music. The last few singles that have dropped, Survivor's Remorse, Lonely Road, 911. I would even go as far to talk about the Fast 11 song that he has on the soundtrack that he dropped in June of 2025 called Underdog, where you can see the themes, right? Roddy has become an underdog again. And sometimes that's actually a good thing for artists, man. Maybe it's gonna make Roddy hungry, rededicate himself to putting his best foot forward. Maybe not taking his fan base for granted. Not saying that he was, but hey, it's always good to have a little bit of hunger, you know what I mean? And you're creative to drive that urgency. And I feel like as we think about what to expect from the Navy album, I hope that Roddy rededicates himself to the music. I hope he comes with a hit. Like, real talk. I think Roddy needs a hit badly. Like, bro gotta start rapping like the rent is due. He gotta start rapping like the mortgage is due. Bro, he gotta start rapping like the student loans is due. Bro, Roddy gotta start rapping like his life depends on it, because if he doesn't deliver on the Navy album, boy, I don't think I wanna see the response that Roddy's gonna get. Like, I would much rather see a timeline or a landscape or culture full of people praising Roddy for coming back because he ain't never left. I wanna see that because I root for Roddy. And I think the music that he puts out is necessary. But if he continues to give us music that is not gonna really resonate and really properly address the fall off rumors like he's continued to address thematically, I think he's gonna do his own Rollout a disservice. And so bro's been pushing back his album endlessly, which I think is a damn joke and a shame, which kills his momentum for this new album. I hope he gets it together and he actually does drop this new album when he says he's gonna drop it on December 2025. But what do you guys think? Are you expecting big things from Roddy's new Navy album? Or have the endless amount of pushbacks just completely turned you off from anything that he's about to drop? Y'all let me know your thoughts in the comments. Once again, my name is Uche. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.